travel throughout Renaissance Europe, selling wares and attending fairs in Tiletum. Thank you for joining us at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. Tiletum is a dice drafting, resource management, set collection, action point allocation game for 1 to 4 players that takes about 2 hours to play.
It's designed by Danielle Tassini and Simone Luciani and published by Board and Dice. They sent us this copy to review. We'll give a quick overview of the gameplay and then share our experiences and opinions.
Tiletum comes with a lot of bits and pieces. There's a main game board, resource dice, several different types of cardboard tiles, cardboard tokens for resources, player boards, and a number of wooden pieces for each player.
In Tiletum, you're playing as merchants during the Renaissance. Your goal is to gain the most points by the end of 4 rounds. To do that, you'll be collecting resources to complete contracts and to build cathedrals. You'll be taking actions to place characters in your houses and moving your merchant and architect around the board.
At the beginning of each round, you'll roll a number of dice and place them around the action wheel in the corresponding sections. During the action phase, players take turns choosing a die. The die you choose determines which resources you get and the action you perform. If I select this die, I gain 4 food, and then I can take the architect actions. The strength of the action is shown on the board. Hint, it's always the value of the opposite side of the die, so I have 3 action points.
So if I take a die showing 6 pips, I get 6 of the matching resource. But then the strength of the action is only a 1. So the more resources I get, the weaker the action, and the fewer resources, the stronger the action.
Here's a quick look at the actions. The architect and merchant actions are similar. They each activate one of your player pieces. For each action point, you can either move to an adjacent location, take a bonus tile at your location, or place one of your pieces at your location. The architect places pillars, and the merchant places houses.
Those pillars and houses are going to be important for final scoring and for things like building cathedrals and participating in fairs. The character action lets you select character tiles and place them in the buildings on your board. Each building can hold only one type of character, and you can't have the same character in more than one building. Filling buildings gives you bonuses and unlocks more houses.
The contract action lets you gain contracts to fulfill and lets you exchange resources. Fulfilling contracts not only gives you points, but unlocks more of your pillars.
The king action moves your marker forward on the king track. At the end of each round, you'll gain or lose points based on your position on the track, and it determines turn order for the next round.
The final action space is the Joker. If you take a die from here, you can choose any other action to perform.
During a round, you'll take 3 turns, which means you'll select a total of 12 dice over the 4 rounds. Now that might not sound like a lot of turns, but you're usually getting multiple action points to spend each turn, and some of the bonus tiles and rewards will give you additional actions.
You can definitely start comboing things, and you can have some pretty big turns.
So why are you doing all these things? Well, to get points, of course. Here are some of the main ways of scoring points. By completing contracts, you not only get the points for the contract, but also points for its placement on your board. They go left to right. By building portions of cathedrals. If you have a pillar in a city, you can pay stone to contribute toward the cathedral. Cathedral tiles are stacked from higher to lower point values. You also get points by participating in the fair at the end of the round. If you have a house or your merchant wagon in the city where the fair is taking place, you gain points based on the fair's requirements. The cities and scoring requirements are randomly selected during setup. There are also endgame points for filled buildings, built houses and pillars, and leftover resources.
There are other ways to gain points through specific bonus tiles and character rewards. Hopefully, your actions are either giving you direct points or giving you resources and rewards that are going to pay off later.
Yeah, there's definitely a fair amount of planning you can do based on the known elements in the game, like the fairs, cathedrals, and the endgame scoring. You even know how the action wheel is going to rotate. The contract action might be weak this round, but will be stronger in the next one. And you'll probably have to readjust your plans based on the variable elements in the game, like the dice rolls and the specific characters and contracts that are revealed.
And of course, the other players. Several times in the last game we played, Melissa took the die or the tile I wanted, and I had to go to my plan B or C. One of those times, it actually cost me a lot of points because I needed steel to complete a contract, and that dice color was now gone from the board.
Sorry. The player interaction in the game is significant, but mainly indirect. Mainly denial or a race to the tiles. I can deny you certain options and scoring opportunities with each die I draft. Tile I take in cathedral, house or pillar I build. So as a player, you need to be aware of what I'm doing and how it could throw off your plans, and I need to be aware of what you're doing. How important is it that I take the food die on my first turn? Will it still be there if I wait for my second turn?
Nope, because I'm going to take it. Certain resources are used for specific actions and tasks. If several people are trying to do the same thing, there can be a lot of competition for those resource dice.
Definitely. Yeah, or maybe I don't really care about that resource, but I really need to take the action the die is on. The dual use of the dice for both resources and actions leads to some interesting decisions.
And some potential AP. In order to be really efficient, you want to do actions in a certain order, like unlocking houses before I move the wagon to build those houses, or activate a tile that gives you a character action that you can place on your player board that gives you benefits so you have enough resources to complete a contract that then can unlock pillars. Everything is really interconnected, as you can see.
Yeah. In our most recent 4-player game, I think we all had at least one turn where we had to map out the action points so we could effectively use our tiles. Every square tile you collect, characters, contracts, crests, bonuses, has to go into your storehouse first. If all the spaces are filled, you can't gain a tile, and you can't voluntarily discard a tile. Some tiles you can use anytime to gain rewards or action points, but other tiles are tied to certain actions and resource requirements. If you're not careful, you can fill your storehouse and miss out on some really great tiles.
Actually, that happened to me. I took too many contracts early in the game, and I thought I could do it, but I couldn't get the resources to fulfill them, and I was stuck with tiles junking up my storehouse.
Yeah, me too, except for me, it was crests and character tiles. So effectively managing your storehouse and scooping up the tiles that give rewards, like more resources or additional actions, can really boost your game. Don't ignore the tiles.
Totally agree. The game has a fair amount of variability from game to game. Like, you only choose 4 cities where the fairs will happen at the end of each round, and there are a bunch of tiles that show what scores. And even within that, there was a game where I didn't even try to score the city because it really wasn't good for my strategy, and I think that's okay. There's variability in the dice that are randomly picked and then rolled each round. That's kind of a big deal because those determine the resources and where they go on the action wheel. I do really like that there is a way to mitigate this with the spending of gold to move dice around the wheel if you really need to take a certain action. And that saved my bacon a couple times when we played the other night.
Definitely, gold is important. For me, the variability adds to the replayability. I like to have new challenges each game. Sometimes the fairs line up and make certain elements really important, and other times they're more diverse.
I really like the Renaissance theme and love the box cover art. The art and illustrations inside the box fit well with the theme, and I like the wooden components included, the pillars, the houses. All the cardboard resources are easy to distinguish, and I like the feel of the dice. But some of the dice colors are too similar to each other and easily mistaken for which colors represent which resources. Steel and wool were the culprits for most of the game.
We first saw this game at Gen Con, and just looking at the board and hearing a quick overview got me excited.
Me too.
I've enjoyed other games by these designers, and I really enjoy Tiletum, which also has dice drafting. After playing Tiletum several times, I'm still excited to explore what the game has to offer. On a complexity weight scale, I'd put it somewhere in the Teotihuacan, Tabanusi, Tiletum area. It's not hard to understand the actions you can take, but there's a lot of interplay and planning to figure out how to effectively and efficiently use your resources.
I love the feeling of how all the different parts of the game work and sort of combo together. If you do them in the right order, you can have some really, really good turns. And of course, sometimes you don't. And that's okay. You gotta watch out for your opponents and see what they're doing. So, burning question in my mind is Tiletum or Tiletum?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I do like both of the games, but I would say Tiletum is still higher on my list.
Okay.
So I like the personal goal cards that you have in Tiletum. They give you something specific to go after and help diversify the scoring. In Tiletum, I feel like there's more competition for the same things. And as far as the dice drafting goes, I'm a little undecided which I like better.
Okay.
So in Tiletum, it's either resources or the action.
When you take the dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Tiletum, you get both, which is awesome.
Sounds really cool, right?
But it makes the decisions more complex. There are more scenarios I have to consider. And for me, that does slow my turns down, introduces a little bit of AP. So it's not as easy for me to lock in on a path with Tiletum.
Okay.
But I would say even with those issues, not really issues, I still enjoy Tiletum, and I think it's a really good game.
I think you'll like Tiletum if you like games like Coimbra or other tea games like Tiletum, or a game like Castel where you are scoring at different regions each round.
Oh, I really like Castel.
Yeah.
So thanks again to Board and Dice for providing this review copy, and thank you for watching. Are you a fan of any of the tea games? Are you interested in Tiletum? What else do you want to know about the game? Let us know in the comments.